Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Campbell. Welcome back to the 2000 Project. It's been a while, but we're back to the new millennium. Russell's here to join me. We got two movies to talk about, and we actively liked both of them. I was telling you off air, like I can't remember the last time because like we like one and kind of not so much the other. But I think for the first time in a really long time, we actually really liked both of them, and I can't remember
Yeah,
the last time that's happened.
yeah, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but yeah, it's always nice when you get two movies that are actually really good. And both of these were first time watches because I never saw Rules of Engagement and I never saw 28 Days. So these were both first time watches. So yeah.
Yes, but if you're watching the video, leave a like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, 5 stars would be greatly appreciated there. But without any further ado, let's get into it. Let's first talk about rules of engagement.
I was not going to stand by and see another Marine die just to live by those rules.
This was directed by William Friedkin. Rest in peace. We all know who he is. Directed The Exorcist, Sorcerer, Cruising, Live and Die in LA. Chances are you've seen at least one of those. Starred Samuel L. Jackson, Tommy Lee Jones, Guy Pearce, and Ben Kingsley, among others. And this is loosely based on a true story of a Marine colonel played by Samuel L. Jackson who is responsible for a peacekeeping mission gone horribly south. And he is court martialed and brought forth to trial, among other things, murder. And so it is up to him and his friend Colonel Hodges, played by Tommy Lee Jones, to get him off the hook. William Friedkin is someone who, like The Exorcist, was so good and so important that you tend to forget he directed other things, or at least that's my experience anyway.
Yeah, no, it was funny because I remember seeing the end of it. It said directed by William Friedkin. I'm like, oh my god, The Exorcist. Yeah, it was kind of crazy that when you think of a director in such a well-known piece of their work. Yeah, they do direct other films, but it's kind of crazy because you wouldn't really associate a Friedkin with this type of film. Usually your wartime films, you have your Spielberg, you have Oliver Stone, you have all sorts of different you know what different directors that touch in the wartime films. But you wouldn't think William Friedkin, obviously being known for The Exorcist, comes out and throws out a war film. So yeah, anytime you get a director that isn't really, not saying that you have to be specialized in one genre, but it is kind of crazy to see that he did direct this.
The thing that I'll note is that he actually he dipped his toes into the legal thriller world. He directed a remake of 12 Angry Men, which was, I believe, an HBO exclusive for years, but then Kino Lorber got their hands on it and released it. But I haven't seen it in a very long time, but I remember liking it. It had Jack Lemmon, Courtney B. Vance, Ozzie Davis, George C. Scott. The cast was just loaded of like past greats, future greats. James Gandolfini's in that one as one of the jurors. So that's a widely respected remake there, and Friedkin directed that. So he had dipped his toes into the waters there. I wouldn't go so far as to say Rules of Engagement is better than that one, but
Yeah.
it's still really good. For 2 hours and 8 minutes, I never noticed the time. It just flew by for me. It was very compelling.
Yeah, no. I always like when you get the legal aspect of things because I mean I I took a major in criminal justice, so anytime you get the type of when you see like the legal aspect of things like that, I always like ramps up for me. Once obviously the court case starts, I think things get really good. But I even like the you know Tommy Lee Jones character going to Yemen, trying to investigate, trying to figure out, what the heck really went on. Because obviously, a lot of the people really can't testify because the people that were there to testify were killed in action. So you have that kind of working against Samuel L. Jackson's character as well, because of the fact that it's pretty much you have to go by his word. So it's up to Tommy Lee Jones to, kind of figure out and put the pieces together. What really went on and did he act accordingly, you know?
Not to mention that the movie does a good job of showing that Terry Childers, Samuel L. Jackson's character, isn't exactly he doesn't exactly have clean hands in the following the rules department. So you could easily see something like this going bad, that being his fault. And the movie does great strains to showing that he made a judgment call, a rough one, but he did what he did because in the moment he thought to himself, this is what I have to do. And so I think the movie did a good job of showing that from the offset. And so the compelling part comes from Tommy Lee Jones, a very inexperienced lawyer, but a lawyer nonetheless, trying to outwit Guy Pearce, who is just like a better lawyer than him in every conceivable way.
Yeah, young, cocky, very full of himself. I laughed because I was thinking to myself, what if they spliced this movie with The Time to Kill when he goes, yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell. I
Yeah,
was like, that's just, I feel like that's there for the taking. I chuckled every time I thought about that. If they could have that courtroom scene and they have Samuel L. Jackson's character going, yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell.
that would
Um,
have been a nice little callback right there.
yeah, it was just really funny because I instantly went there for that. But yeah, no, like I said, the film's 2 hours and 10 minutes long, and I think pace wise, it doesn't feel very long. Once things get ramped up, obviously with the court case and stuff like that, I feel like it goes by pretty well, and I freaking does a great job of tiptoeing back and forth with the character of Samuel L. Jackson in this film because you're thinking to yourself like, yeah, he is kind of unhinged at times. So yeah, he could have done this like just kind of got irate and just randomly acted on it on impulse.
Movie's a pretty loaded cast too, like I believe
Yeah.
I mentioned, but Tommy Lee Jones, Samuel L. Jackson are the two main guys, but you got Guy Pearce and his crew cut. You got Ben Kingsley, who plays the Yemeni ambassador. His role is brief but predictably good. Bruce Greenwood is the closest to the main antagonist as you can get. He's a scumbag national security advisor, and this is based on a true story. So, like, this character got comeuppance after the fact, and I'll just leave it at that. But Bruce Greenwood has a real knack for playing crooked politicians. I don't know what it is, like the look about him, but it's like between this and Kingsman: The Golden Circle, it's like he has a real weird thing for playing scummy people.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Bruce Green was such a good side character and good, character actor in just different films, but he always plays the villain to the utmost. Like, you really hate his characters and everything he does when he is a bad guy. So, yeah, and I just feel like, we probably could have used somebody that wasn't Ben Kingsley because I feel like this was kind of a wasted opportunity putting him in the film because he really wasn't in the film very long. So you could have put a nobody in there. I feel like we kind of wasted that. I mean, Ben Kingsley's a great actor. Don't get me wrong. I just feel like we could have utilized the fact that we cast Kingsley in this and we kind of missed something there.
I don't want to forget mentioning Philip Baker Hall, who plays Hodge's dad, and his
Yeah.
role is incredibly brief, but it's Philip Baker Hall, so he brings it every single time. Rest in peace to him. Blair Underwood has a brief role, so there really is like a whole thing of like wait, they were in this, and sure enough, yes, they were. And in the case of, like, say, Guy Pearce, for example, he did LA Confidential a few years prior, so he had done a few things. But seeing him so young here still was just fascinating to me.
Yeah, and you even have the time machine right around that period too. He did the
Next year, 2001.
yeah. So you had him, and Memento was 2000, wasn't it?
Yep, same year. Yeah.
So you had, he definitely was up and coming for sure. But he always does a great job in everything he does. So it was really nice to see him get back into the swing of things with The Brutalist,
Yeah, good to see him in that. And I think to kind of sum up my overall thoughts on this is that if this is a war movie, but there's not really a ton of battles here. It's more of a legal thriller than a war thriller. And if you go into that with that mindset, I think you will enjoy it. It does take a bit to get going, but once the actual trial starts, that's when it gets good. On my scale, I'm going to give this a great rating. It's one of the more pleasant surprises that I've seen in this project so far.
Yeah, super underrated film of the 2000s. And this isn't something that you're going to, sit down. You're not going to have like a Platoon or a like Black Hawk Down or Saving Private Ryan type of war film. Obviously, there's a lot more legality to this type of film, which I actually like because, how many times there's been so many war films as I was watching this. I think like even prior to Rules of Engagement, just how many how many war films we've gotten, and it's quite crazy. There are it is not a lot of there is probably, like I say, the first half hour, 40 minutes is probably a little bit of your war, but then for the most part is a legal thriller, which I kind of like. So yeah, I think the acting, Samuel L. Jackson, Tommy Lee Jones, I think the two of them obviously great chemistry with one another. And I like how Friedkin really does, tackle the whole, legal, film. Obviously you said he, had his, with the remake of 12 Angry Men. So he kind of had that in the wheelhouse as well. But I mean, just that showcase this in a different way where you're kind of doing something original and not going from something that already came out. I think it's a solid film.
Yeah. But let's get to the other half of the double feature, and it's the weird tone shifts again. We're going from military crime to alcoholism. Let's talk about 28 Days.
Of the rest of her life. 28 days.
And no, there are no zombies in this. But 28 Days was directed by Betty Thomas, whose credits include Private Parts, the Howard Stern sort of kind of biopic, the Brady Bunch movie, the Eddie Murphy Dr. Dolittle movie, and Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Squeakquel. So yeah, eclectic credits if there ever was one. But the movie stars Sandra Bullock, Viggo Mortensen, Dominic West, and Steve Buscemi, among others. It tells the story of a woman named Gwen, played by Bullock, who makes a complete ass of herself at her sister's wedding. She has a rampant alcohol problem, and just it's no secret. Like, it's the worst kept secret in the world. And so she's given a choice, prison or rehab, and she chooses rehab. And she doesn't take to it at first, but over the course of the movie, she slowly begins to admit that she has a problem and trying to work herself out of that situation. So this movie's so obscure that if you look this up on Google, you'll immediately get 28 Days Later. So it's like 28 days, there's no later at the end of it, which is a bit of a shame because I actually liked this movie, not to the degree of Rules of Engagement, but I still really liked it.
Yeah, no, and this is obviously a young Sandra Bullock. So this is like, you're looking at when she really, the Net, Miss Congeniality a couple years after. I think she was in Demolition Man several years back. So, she was the Net, I think, was like right around before 2000, While You Were Sleeping. So
The Net was 95. So
95, yeah. So yeah, you had that. You had Practical Magic she was in. So obviously you knew who she was, but I think, this was a little bit more breaking away from the traditional Sandra Bullock role, Speed 2 Cruise Control, stuff like that. And I do, the thing I like about the film is the fact that you see a lot of character growth and development throughout the film with Sandra Bullock's character. Obviously, yes, she has a problem, and she's enabled by her, boyfriend, on again, off again, booty call, whatever you call him, played by Dominic West. You have somebody who's, you can see clear as day is very toxic for Sandra Bullock's character, but she is just in a spot where she needs to step away from everything. And I think her going to get help, at this clinic for 28 days, I think really starts to open her eyes, and the friendship that she actually starts to kindle with her roommate, who is a like a 17 or 18-year-old.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Dominic West plays the boyfriend. This is 2 years, or this is a year prior to when he starts on The Wire. And you want to know how good he is in The Wire? He's so good that I forget that he's a Brit. Like, I hear
Yeah.
his British accent in this movie. I'm like, who is this guy? And then sure enough, I go to find out his American accent is so good that I forget that he's British. It's the Charlie Hunnam thing, where it's like Charlie Hunnam was so good in Sons of Anarchy that you just completely forget that he's British.
Yeah, Colin Farrell can't get a pass on that. You know, he's Irish. He really can't break away from that. Even a couple scenes in Miami Vice, I think his accent, his thick Irish accent, makes a cameo a couple times in that film. But yeah, even somebody like Colin Farrell too.
Yeah, kind of slip of the tongue on that one. But Dominic West is good. Viggo Mortensen, a year before he would be in Lord of the Rings, is in this.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see him. Character's kind of lacking, but I don't think that's necessarily his fault. I think he still does a good job. I think we were talking off air, like he was the biggest drop ball of the movie in terms of like, why have him there if you're just going to do that with him?
Yeah, especially obviously without spoiling anything, obviously to the back end of the film, ending it like that, and then not kind of wasting an opportunity there. It makes you wonder why he was even in the film, just because just the decisions that the director takes, and the way that the film rolls itself out. Just it was kind of disappointing because of the fact that you have so much potential here. You could have done something to close this film out and make it a more wholesome, I would say, ending. Speaking of, I'll throw Alan Tudyk out there too, a great character actor.
Just about to get to him because when I saw him, I'm like, oh,
young
because
Alan Tudyk. Yeah.
He's so known nowadays for his voice work, like K2SO and Rogue One is like, congratulations, you are being rescued. Like he's like him and Baymax and among other things. Like he voices the chicken in Moana. Like he's just so known for voice acting nowadays that when you see him like in person, you're like, who's that? And then you Google it, you're like, he's a person?
Yeah, and it was like what 3 or 4 years before Pirate Steve and Dodgeball too. So you had like this was completely like a pretty much like a completely unknown Alan Tudyk, I would say. Real tall and skinny, like just you'd recognize him if you focus on him. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, but this was definitely like probably one of his like earlier roles, I would say, before he really broke out with a lot of character voices and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think my favorite character minus Sandra Bullock is Steve Buscemi. I thought his character was great. Like he has my favorite scene in the movie where he's smoking outside and Sandra Bullock's character Gwen is smoking outside and is like, the counselor's going to bust you if you're smoking. And it's like, well, then I just won't tell him. And then he's like, too late. I'm like, oh, what a great way to reveal that he's the guy running this place. Like, there's not this big old, like, I am the counselor here and I welcome you. None of that. Like, he's, in a weird way, kind of one of them. And so I like that. I like the spirit of that.
Yeah, because outside of like, Armageddon, probably a couple years prior, he had been in usually a lot of Adam Sandler's films at the time. You know what I mean? You have your, Big Daddy, you have your Billy Madison, and other films like that, where he always kind of like just kind of whack-a-mole into, you always seen him in different films, Mr. Deeds, a lot of Adam Sandler's work. So it's really nice to kind of see him.
He was also in Con Air.
Yeah, I was going to say Con Air, and then he also later seasons of The Sopranos as well.
And yeah, he got this sort of kind of Sopranos with Boardwalk Empire, one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, so I mean, and he's always great in everything he does. I really in Fargo, a couple years, 4 years prior, 96 with the Coen brothers. Yeah. So
Like an all-timer from the Coen brothers, he's honestly the best part. I don't know how hot of a take that is, but there it is.
oh
And
yeah, he's great in everything he does. He's such a, even having him in a Adam Sandler film already kills the show. To me, it's like when he's wearing, he puts lipstick on and crosses him off the hit list. Beautiful. I just little things you could do with that character. I love it. So yeah.
one thing I will say though is that this doesn't really reinvent the wheel in terms of someone trying to get sober kind of movies. Like it definitely does very similar. It's very similar vibes to a movie I covered for the 99 Project called Girl Interrupted, except this is more of a comedy than Girl Interrupted. The movie also kind of reminded me of a very underrated and underseen movie called Smashed with Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Aaron Paul, where Mary Elizabeth Winstead is a functioning alcoholic. She's a kindergarten teacher, and she is told to get sober by her principal or else she will be fired. She does not. She gets fired, and she pretty much learns that the whole reason why she and Aaron Paul are together is because they drank. That's literally the only reason. And so she has to do a lot of soul searching. No one saw it. It was really, really good. Like it was in that little pocket of 2012 where Aaron Paul was not quite done with Breaking Bad yet, but the final season had been filmed and was ready to air. They filmed the season all at once. And so that was just being kept on the back burner for a time. Point is that I prefer Smashed over this, if that makes any sense.
And obviously, when I think of like alcoholism in movies, I obviously always go to Leaving Las Vegas. I think is probably the better one of it. I think the darker tunnel, I would say the darker version of alcoholism. You could throw When a Man Loves a Woman out there as well with alcoholism. I'm sure there's a lot of films. Flight. I mean, you can even throw Flight out there. This movie's definitely done well enough. But I mean, I think when it comes to alcoholism in films, I think Leaving Las Vegas to me, I would throw that out there as probably one of the better ones, as one of the best ones for sure. But this one's still a good film, but it doesn't go that serious. It explores something that is serious, and it shows you, there are consequences to actions. But at the end of the day, it doesn't go as dark as other films do. So I like it in its own right here. This is a solid Sandra Bullock. Really kind of showcasing who or how she would like really kind of not reinvigorate, but I would say kind of like matured through her acting career into the 2000s swing of things. You know what I mean? Obviously garnering an Oscar for The Blind Side. But like, I think this is a pretty standalone film. Like, I think she really does a lot of, of good on this.
Yes. I think closing thoughts on my end, I'm going to give this a good rating, but a high good rating. The acting is solid across the board. There's definitely some really good moments throughout. It doesn't change anything in terms of like the person dealing with alcoholism subgenre, if we're going to call it that. It's no Leaving Las Vegas, it's no Flight, but it is solid, and I think that it is a very solid watch. I'll never forget the first time I saw Flight. First of all, like when I saw it, I'm like, okay, first of all, shouldn't they be drug testing these pilots? So, like, how ramshackle is your airline that you let a half-drunk guy fly your plane? But I digress. Flight's really good. If any of you haven't seen it, please go and see it. It's quite good.
But the scary part about that is it's just because he's a functioning alcoholic that he can kind of pull it over on everybody. And that's scary in itself too, that you could have somebody who literally can drink mass amounts of alcohol and still function in everyday society. It's completely scary, and it's baffling how the human body can do that. I also did appreciate in the 28 days, I'll give another, high marks on the fact that they do a good job about withdrawal with the shakes and stuff like that. I did like that attention to detail as well, just because of the fact that anytime you're detoxing, whether it's drugs, alcohol, anything like that, you do have hand tremors and stuff like that because your body is going without you're detoxing your body. Your body's going without the toxicities that drugs and alcohol do. So I do like how they did throw that in there as well to keep it consistent. Overall, a pretty solid film.
I pass it off to all of you. What did you think of any of these movies that we talked about? Let us know in the comments. We would love to read what you have to say. Russell, thank you so much for doing this with me. As always, tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Notorious by Chance is the Facebook group. You guys can also find us on YouTube as well, Notorious by Chance. I know they've been really putting out a lot of content with football season, left side, strong side. Lots of football content there at NBC Podcast on the TikTok and on X at NBC Podcast as well. Try to make it a new year, new resolution to try to post more on that for sure.
Yep, all the links down below. Go give them a subscribe over there. As far as this channel goes, when we return to Friday, next Friday, we'll be going back to the horror movie Iceberg, and we'll be covering Troll Hunter, the Andre Overdahl found footage movie. When we go back to the 2000s, though, we will be covering an all-time 2000s classic, American Psycho, and one of only 2 movies directed by Edward Norton called Keeping the Faith, a movie about a rabbi and a priest falling in love with the same woman. I have not seen it, but I imagine it's riveting stuff, and I'm being sarcastic. But for Russell, my name is Ryan Cam. We will see you all in the next one. Y'all take care.